question back here.
Yeah, if I can change the topic.
Sure.
Technology and the rate of change is increasing, and there's new things that people have to adapt to all the time. So do you account for, or do you build that into your cultures to allow for it in a purposeful way?
So it reminds me, because technology isn't, the meeting I just described was in person with a whiteboard.
Mm-hmm.
COVID, we had to move to a Zoom format. So technology impacting that meeting, I think it made the meeting better. So I increased it from about 10 people to about 20 people. And then did those discussions in breakout groups, those breakout rooms that you have in Zoom. And then they come and they nominate a spokesperson for the question to come back and present their ideas. I think what it did is it allowed more engagement. Now we've got 14 offices. It allowed people to get to know each other that didn't otherwise know each other. But also, when I'm asking a question, I may not get the most brutally honest answer. Hopefully I do, but you just may not, right? They can go discuss it, come up with some brutally honest feedback, and then anonymously present it back as the group thought this. So technology has enhanced the meeting that I just described.
Yeah, because otherwise, if you had to travel to a common site and you have 14 locations, it would not really happen very often.
Yeah, thank you. So question to the panel on technology and impact on culture?
I would say adapt to what's going on. Definitely, we had some incredibly effective meetings when COVID hit us that we wouldn't have thought of having those meetings through, online or a remote or virtual environment. So I think it's just adapting and making sure you're still feeling like you're getting out of it. I will say technology, I recognize that the relationships weren't as strong once we went to a complete virtual or a significant virtual environment. So one of the things that I learned was that I couldn't kick into, normally in that online you feel like you have to be really efficient, right? I couldn't kick into the meeting quickly. I needed to still have that 5 minute of normal chit chat time that you have when you're all walking in the room and how was your weekend and that type of thing. So it was a little awkward at times, but I think it still was investing to make sure that we were doing that. I think was important.
So that's an interesting question, because through COVID, actually our culture, it blossomed. It actually did better because we really had to focus so diligently, and I spent so many more hours calling people and virtual calls, telephone calls. A lot of people did this where you'd have virtual cocktail hours. We'd do that on a Friday where I'd get the executive team, or we'd get the team that was working on PPP. We'd get them together and we'd buy them a certain glass to celebrate, say, an accomplishment that we just went through, say the first round of PPP, and I get the whole group in and we just talk casually. And so then we'd have pizza parties, and no matter what location you're in, you got the local pizza from a mom and pop. And so we really experienced a lot of fun through that tough time, because it was grueling. It was really hard. What I find challenging and interesting now is now we have a hybrid. So I have some people at home. I have some people all in the office all the time. I have some that are both, and it's spread out. So it's different everywhere. There is no real consistency. And so that's why I will find these opportunities to check the oil, see how they're doing. And I look at it as a weave. So you have technology, but that doesn't mean you forget about the personal relationship. So those weave together. So I can have a relationship with you that's virtual, but then when I'm in town, let's get together. So we add that to it. And so I use that. I have all hands meeting that's virtual throughout all our 17 branches. But then I go out personally. So it's both.
So we were in a blessed position during all of COVID, all that, we were deemed as essential business. So we stayed open. So we didn't deal with a lot of the remote Zoom stuff. And I mean, we still were meeting at our office, our office team and stuff like that. So we didn't deal with a ton of that, just different industry stuff. Technology for us has changed over the years with what you guys maybe experience if you do come through with the runners in the parking lot and taking your orders out there now. That used to solely be the window person, but technology, we just got too busy where we needed to update our deal. And it's actually a hybrid of In-N-Out and a couple other companies. Chick-fil-A does it too as well, but we've kind of collaborated with some of those businesses as well on how it works. It really started out at In-N-Out Burger out of Redding, California first. The Dutch Bros Redding owner saw In-N-Out Burger back years and years ago texting orders in because they were too busy and they couldn't keep up. So we adopted that from there and have perfected. But that's where technology has changed us too to that degree. It's just changed the customer's interaction with us, where the window person used to be your sole person asking about your day, this and that. Now it's the person walking with you out there. But as far as COVID-related stuff, I mean, we just did the best we could with dealing through it, but luckily we didn't have to close. Or
Well, it
change
sounds
much.
like a mindset, because I hear more of the, oh, I can't wait for us to get back in person, or everybody to get back in the office, back to normal, which really isn't ever gonna happen. But if you embrace it and say, well, let's just make it as good as we can make it, and it sounds like you guys all have that positive mindset, so that's what sets you apart.
Yeah, and I would add to that. So several of my clients, this is a topic, right, is who do I bring back to remote? How do I decide this, all of this? And what I'll tell you is the hang up tends to be the word consistency, is they really want to establish a culture of consistency with certain positions, certain whatever. And I think the ones that are being successful here is having the creative mindset that if this person has deemed that they really can do their job well remotely, the rest of the department wants to come back or whatever, we're okay not being consistent. And this is really difficult for HR departments because they really do want some consistency. So I can just think, for example, of one of them, for example, where they lost a really good employee because there only was one out of the department and he really just wanted to stay home. He actually got where he just loved staying home with his dogs and he didn't want to have to kennel his dogs anymore. And it was, well, no, we just decided this department. And so they lost a really good employee over that. So I think what I find is get in the very creative, open-minded space. And if you study the brain, our triggers, and a lot of times we get fearful of what could go wrong rather than how can we make this work. And so I think it's critically important that now more than ever is we need to figure out a way, which also means we need to be really good leaders at explaining to people that might come forward and have an issue or doesn't make sense to them or whatever, is how do we explain and stay very focused on what's in the best interest of the organization and who you serve. And I think that that falls into place a little bit better, but it is probably one of the biggest obstacles that at least the clients that I have today are working through.
We're trying to assess of all the communications and engagements that we have within our company, which ones can be handled virtually, or which ones do we need to be in person for. So asynchronous communication, we feel like, can be more of reporting and information distribution type communications. We don't need to be in the same room to do that. If we need ideation and creativity and bonding and team building, those types of interactions need to be in person, right? So trying to be mindful of the types of interactions we have and which format is best for us.